Paraguay still favors Taiwan over China for economic development. World has hottest June on record as ocean temperatures soar. Sichuan facing power crunch that may ripple across China. At least 34 killed by heavy rains in South Korea. Canada will soon become the most expansive country for euthanasia. Carlos Alcaraz ends Djokovic's long Wimbledon reign. Actors join writers on Hollywood picket lines. India successfully launches new mission to land robot explorer on Moon.
Hello, I'm Amber. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Monday, July 17th, and here are your top stories. Paraguay President-elect Santiago Peña said on Saturday during a visit to Taipei that Paraguay would love to do more trade with China, but Taiwan offers the best bet for moving the largely agricultural economy up the value chain. He said having a closer collaboration with Taiwan puts us closer on a path to developing an industrial sector than we would have if we had relations with China. Peña said he was fully committed to Taiwan and happy with his meetings last week, which included President Tsai Ing-wen.
During his election campaign, Peña pledged to maintain more than 6 decades of relations with Taiwan despite pressure from Paraguay's agricultural sector, which wants to open up lucrative Chinese markets to soybeans and beef. However, Peña said that Paraguay cannot rely on a single market, as a small country does not have the same negotiating clout as Brazil or the United States and does not want to be flooded with Chinese goods while only being able to export raw materials. Peña will take office on August 15.
The world just had its hottest June ever for land and sea, with ocean temperatures setting new highs for the third month in a row. The U.S. National Centers for Environmental Information said combined ground and ocean temperatures across the Earth were 1.05 Celsius degrees above the 20th century average of 15.5 degrees Celsius, making this the warmest June in data going back 174 years. Massive heat waves have endangered lives and taxed energy grids the world over since the start of the year.
Meanwhile, elevated ocean temperatures have created ideal conditions for hurricanes. The world's oceans produced an above-average 9 named storms last month, 4 of which reached hurricane strength. The global accumulated cyclone energy, a measure of storms' power, was almost twice the normal value for June. In addition to global temperatures, the U.S. agency said that Antarctic sea ice reached its lowest extent on record despite winter being underway there.
Extreme heat and rising energy demand risk overwhelming China's attempts to prevent a repeat of last year's curbs on the power supply in the major industrial province of Sichuan. Steel and cement plants in Sichuan are limiting production until early next month. Electric vehicle users were asked to charge at night, and government offices and shopping malls are also being encouraged to save power. There's a growing threat the shortages may rival last year when nearly all industries paused production for at least 6 days.
China's 6th biggest provincial economy, with a higher GDP than Poland, is heavily reliant on hydropower and is being forced to ration electricity as water levels fall due to hot and dry weather. It also had to cut electricity exports to the populous East Coast, potentially contributing to shortages there. The problems in Sichuan could be replicated in other parts of China if extreme heat persists over the coming weeks, with levels on the Yangtze River, which is crucial for hydropower, predicted to drop.
8 bodies of people who were trapped under a tunnel submerged by heavy rains in central South Korea were pulled out on Sunday, taking the death toll from the days of torrential rains that pounded the country to 34. The Korean Ministry of Interior and Safety earlier said that 26 people have died and 10 were missing as of 6 a.m. On Sunday, heavy rains caused landslides and floods across the country, forcing the evacuation of 7,540 people. It was not immediately clear how many people and cars were trapped in the tunnel.
7 people were found in a bus that had been submerged at a flooded underpass in Cheongju on Sunday after rescue workers began underwater search operations earlier in the morning. The West Cheongju Fire Station said, "There's likely to be more people there." President Yoon Suk-yeol, now on an overseas trip, ordered Prime Minister Han Duck-soo to mobilize all available resources to minimize casualties, as more heavy rain was expected on the Korean peninsula on Sunday.
An expansion of the criteria for medically assisted death that comes into force in March 2024 will allow Canadians whose sole underlying condition is mental illness to choose medically assisted death. According to an expert panel report to Canada's Parliament, the new mental health provision will make Canada one of the most expansive countries in the world when it comes to medical assistance in dying. Proponents of assisted death say it is an issue of personal autonomy.
Canada legalized assisted death in 2016 for people with terminal illness and expanded it in 2021 to people with incurable, but not terminal, conditions. The legal changes were precipitated by court rulings that struck down prohibitions on helping people to die. In 2021, the most recent year available, 10,064 people died through medically assisted death, about 3.3% of deaths during the same year. 4.5% of deaths in the Netherlands and 2.4% in Belgium were medically assisted, where the practice has been legal since 2002.
Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz heralded the changing of the guard in men's tennis as he ended Novak Djokovic's long reign at Wimbledon with a rip-roaring 1-6-7-6-6-1-3-6-6-4 victory to win the All-England club title for the first time on Sunday. The 36-year-old Serbian had been indestructible on Wimbledon's center court for a decade, but finally met his match as he ran out of ideas to stop young gun Alcaraz from hurtling towards the title. Alcaraz said, "It's a dream come true for me. It's great to win in this beautiful tournament."
Djokovic is deposed. There's a new king.
Alcaraz said to the Serbian, "You inspire me a lot. I started playing tennis watching you." He joked, "Since I was born, you have already been winning tournaments." That's not exactly accurate. The match featured Djokovic, the oldest male champion at Wimbledon in the Open era, and Alcaraz, a 20-year-old who became the third youngest Wimbledon champion. The age gap between the two was the widest in any men's slam final since 1974.
Susan Sarandon and thousands of other actors have joined screenwriters for Hollywood's biggest strike in more than 6 decades. Actors will not appear in films or even promote movies during the stoppage. Major films in production, including the Avatar and Gladiator sequels, may be affected by the shutdown. The actors are joining writers who walked out in May, concerned about pay, working conditions, and the industry's use of artificial intelligence. Brian Cox said the strike could last until the end of the year.
Corporate greed has got to go.
Talks for a new contract with studios and streaming giants broke down last Thursday, with the Screen Actors Guild accusing the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers of being unwilling to offer a fair deal. The demonstrations have received support from some of the biggest celebrities in the movie and television business, including the stars of the upcoming Oppenheimer movie, who walked off the red carpet on Thursday night. Susan Sarandon said, "AI will affect everybody."
India's space agency said the country has successfully launched an unmanned rocket last Friday, which is due to fly to the far side of the moon in bid to land a robot explorer on the south pole of the moon, a journey that will take over a month. The agency said Chandrayaan-3, the word for mooncraft in Sanskrit, took off from Sriharikota in southern India with an orbiter, a lander, and the rover. The journey is expected to take slightly more than a month, landing on the moon's surface in late August.
A successful landing would make India the fourth country after the United States, the Soviet Union, and China, to achieve the feat. It is India's second attempt to land a robotic spacecraft near the moon's little explored south pole. A previous mission in 2019 ended in failure when its lander crashed while making its final descent to deploy a rover to search for signs of water. India's space program has already helped develop satellite, communication, and remote sensing technologies.
Now let's delve into the news of actors joining writers on Hollywood strike. Number 1. Stoppage 停工或是罢工 Play resumed quickly after the stoppage. Number 2. Shut down 停业或停工 All 7 plants have had temporary shutdowns this year. Number 3. Walkout 罢工 Nationwide industrial action began earlier this week when staff at most banks walked out. Next, we have a multiple-choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section below. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Amber, your host, and I'll see you next time.